Majesties have announced that Buka ceremony will be hosted this year. Legislators and guests who attend the state opening of the 4th session of the 11th Parliament by His Majesty King Eswatini III on Friday will be required to get COVID-19 clearance from the Ministry of Health.
It has just gone 8 o'clock Central African time. Good evening and welcome to the news bulletin at 8, brought to you by Eswatini TV. My name is Saniboy Ngwana alongside Namakabiso Ngambule. Thank you so much for choosing to stay with us. We're coming to you live from our Hospital Hill studios in Babane. These are your top stories tonight.
Their Majesties have announced that Buka ceremony will be hosted this year. Legislators and guests who attend the state opening of the 4th session of the 11th Parliament by His Majesty King Eswatini III on Friday will be required to get COVID-19 clearance from the Ministry of Health. And government has approved the appointment of Bright Host Boniso Ngambule as the Eswatini Revenue Service Acting Commissioner General.
And now the news in detail. Their Majesties have announced that the Bukana ceremony will be hosted this year. Now the first leg of the ceremony will be held at the Bulenerua residence from the 11th of February. Their Majesties issued the statement through Induna Tango for the whole region Lomtopi Nzimanze, who was supported by the Minister of Home Affairs, Her Royal Highness Princess Lindiwe.
Lalela sikutshele tindzaba letibengosini uyeswana uthakandaba luthango lonke lakahowo aliphelele esigodleni yebuhleni yenyangeni lesetulu kundlovane mhla tilishumi nalunye luphelele ebugani bakhe kuyothi mhla tilishumi natimbili engomeni yakhe mhla tilishumi natintsatfu uyachitha amabutho bekunene usho njalo msasi omnyama kubakaluthuli ulodumanda basembelembeleni ulodumanda basemampontweni bayethe wena phakathi phezu komkhono ngekuthunywa ngawe emakhosi libutho litabe livunule lihiya lelibovu ngemgcibelo ngelisondlo litabe livunule lihiya lelili-orange lingavunule mabalabala khona lo msebenzi wemakhosi utoba muhle bekunene betempilo ke batabe bakhona kude lotawungena emkhunjini angakathesti bekunene kuhlola ukuthi ligciwane le-COVID alikho yini emtimbeni bayethe wena phakathi.
Legislators and guests who attend the state opening of the 4th session of the 11th Parliament by His Majesty King Eswatini III on Friday will be required to get COVID-19 clearance from the Ministry of Health personnel. This was revealed during the last rehearsal which was held in Parliament.
His Majesty King Eswatini III will on Friday officially open the 4th session of the 11th Parliament. Now, with just a day remaining before His Majesty delivers the speech from the throne, Parliament presiding officers and other stakeholders are making the final push in terms of preparations and aiming for a top-class event. With preparations for the state opening of Parliament at an advanced stage, Prime Minister Cleopas Dlamini presided over the last rehearsal where different stakeholders tabled reports on progress that has been made in readiness for the speech from the throne on Friday. Clerk to Parliament Dr. Benedict Kaba says he is impressed with preparations for the state event.
kulungisela vele saqala kadzeni nyalo nje sesime ngemumo lamhlanje lo sente ama final rehearsal sekuvele kuthengalesine shothi nje konke kutabe sekupholile sesilungele lona ukuthi hawo imbube yemhlaba lilanga livele lithokomale ngakhona lapha kalobambe eParliament ngathi nje konke kungemumo.
Dr. Klaba says legislators and invited guests will be required to produce negative COVID-19 results.
Indzaba ka COVID testing njengalo ubona simo sinjani sibukile lokuthi mawungabuka last year sa testa same day sekwase kuba ne congestion lenye imsenti yelive siyibonile iba kanjalo so sihlale phasi nelitiko letempilo li advisele ke litiko letempilo ukuthi cha ngalesine abantu bangatesta mawusuka nje eshiselweni angisusuka lapha emkhithini so umhlonishwa seshiselweni 2 avele ete aphethe iCovid test yakhe nowasemanzini nota avele ashoneka lamvelase aqhamuke na iCovid test yakhe kanjalo nomhlonishwa wakalebha lelibonjeni angathi nje khulu kusha lapha eGood Shepherd but awufike bamteste ete vele asaphethe iCovid test so siyakhuthata kakhulu ukuthi ama guest ethu akente ngalo lesine eta sasiphethele ekseni kodwa ke baka health batabe bakaneksekile khona la Parliament makwenteka ukuthi akwayenti batawuqhubeka bakteste khona lapha eParliament.
An invitation to the nation to follow proceedings on live television and other technology-based platforms.
Sive semaswati noma singedi physical sekwaba ngcono itechnology lakhaya seyihambe kakhulu sibonga imvuna yaka ICT umntwana enkosi ulungise konke utayithola noma ukuphi noma usembabala noma uphasa emthombe noma usemkhithini utavele uyilandzele iParliament. Ngingacela kakhulu kuwo wonke lo semakhaya ngicele nebaqashi ukuthi disebenti adinikwe lesikhathi njalo sathi umsenicela nga10 asibe sikhola siyate emsebentini sekwaba khona bomabona ukuthi nalabo YouTube atabe bakhona kumcwa kakhulu ukuthi sithole idirection ukuthi imbube emhlaba ithi ke ubhekwapi lo nyaka.
On the news, I am Sandile Makanya in Parliament.
The Minister of Education and Training, Lady Howard, says internal and external examinations for the 2021 school calendar year are around the corner now. Therefore, it is concerning to learn that there are perpetrators of violence disturbing lessons in schools. Now, the Minister was speaking during a press meeting held at the Ministry's offices on Wednesday.
Speaking during a press meeting on Monday, the Minister for Education and Training, Lady Howard, applauded teachers' will to recover lost instructional time and learners who are determined to concentrate on their studies. The Minister said they are concerned as they have learned about some perpetrators of violence who are invading and disturbing lessons in schools, especially with the internal and external examinations around the corner.
As we move towards the end of the 2021 school calendar year, both internal and external examinations are ahead of us, starting on the 14th of February 2021 and 28th February 2021 for junior certificate and Eswatini primary certificate respectively. Preparations are already at an advanced stage and there is no room for any disturbances. As a ministry, we have learned with great concern and disappointment that there are some perpetrators of violence who are invading and disturbing our schools while learning is in progress. It is for this reason that the ministry would like to caution anyone who intends to incite violence in schools or bring any form of disturbance to the learning process. Such disturbances are indeed of concern as schools prepare for their examinations.
The Minister also highlighted that education is and will remain an important driver of development to any person and society. Therefore, it is imperative to let children be afforded the opportunity to learn like everyone else. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I am Samkel Siwe Khoza with Fumenko Sinsinisa Mbabane.
The Ministry of Health has received personal protective equipment from the Rotary Club of Canada. Now speaking when receiving the equipment at the Central Medical Stores in Matsapa, the Minister of Health, Lee Zingozi, said PPE is an essential commodity and has to be available in every health facility, especially now during the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic.
On Wednesday, the Kingdom of Eswatini received a donation of personal protective equipment from Rotary Club of Canada at the Central Medical Stores in Matsapa. Speaking during the handover ceremony, the Minister of Health, Lizingosi, said these pieces of equipment and supplies come at a critical time when the COVID-19 pandemic has continued to deplete the country's resources for taking care of patients.
Healthcare workers, one of the important things about giving a service is ensuring that the healthcare workers themselves are protected. So the gowns you see here are very specific to that part of work. If we're looking in Eswatini, in the numbers of people that have been infected and the numbers of people that have left us, have died from COVID, healthcare workers make up 2% of that whole group. So it's really, for us, it is critical to make sure that we continue to protect healthcare workers, as most of these things are directed to the caps, the shoe covers, the gowns, the shields, all of that, the respirators, all of that is directed to us, making sure that we have enough PPE to protect our staff.
Wellington Mota from Rotary Club Eswatini said these equipment will help the country in the fight against the COVID-19
So in terms
pandemic.
of the items, we've got about 71,108 wound care strips. There's one. Yes. And 24,508 face shields. And then we have about 49,238 face masks, with 20,264 pairs of surgical gloves and 3,900 head and shoe covers. Then we've got about 287 sharp containers, which is these ones, and 7,864 of the isolation gowns. Then we've got about 2,000 of the nasal cannula and oxygen masks.
According to the Ministry of Health's COVID-19 report on Wednesday, the country recorded 56 new cases, with 17 currently admitted in health facilities. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I'm Samkel Swekoza in Manzini.
The government of the Kingdom of Eswatini has approved the appointment of Brightwell's Boniso Ngambule as the Eswatini Revenue Service Acting Commissioner General. Now, according to a statement issued by the Director of Communications, Vusi Dlamini, he says this follows the departure of Tumsani Masilela.
The government has approved the appointment of Brightwell Siboniso Nkambule to act in his capacity of Eswatini Revenue Service Commissioner General. Nkambule's acting appointment is effective beginning February 2022. This follows the departure of the inaugural Commissioner General, Tumsani Masilela, whose name was virtually synonymous with the revenue services. The statement reads that Nkambule is not new to ERS. He has served the service for almost a similar period of that of Masilela, having joined the organization in October 2010, which means that he has also served the entity for more than 11 years. He has been part of the ERS executive management for that period, having started as Chief Information Officer. Over the years, Nkambule has led the organization's transformation as well as advisory role to the Commissioner General's office on the organization's strategy. Nkambule also played a role of short-term expert in the International Monetary Fund (IMF) from 2015 on tax administration reform program in countries that includes Nigeria, Ghana, Gambia, Liberia, Sierra Leone, Zimbabwe, Seychelles, and Namibia. Nkambule holds a Master of Business Leadership from the University of South Africa, a Bachelor of Science, majoring in Computer Science and Mathematics, Association of Accounting Technicians, tax-related certificate from the USA. Nkambule's work history: he joined Eswatini Revenue Service in October 2010 to date. He also worked for the Royal Eswatini Sugar Corporation and Botswana Telecom Corporation, as well as EPTC. For Eswatini TV News, Sondomlangini in Babane.
The Kingdom of Eswatini is expected to experience a wet weekend ahead. Now, according to senior forecaster Dumsane Stole, this might have a negative impact as the country might have heavy rains next week due to Cyclone Batsirai.
Matapa Town Council has aligned herself with the country's nature conservation by conserving wetlands. As the Minister of Tourism and Environmental Affairs promotes the conservation of wetlands, Matapa has already started working on fencing and creating wetlands to be a sightseeing place where people can relax and bird-watching place where people can come and relax each and every time. The town council's environmental manager Mangoba Zwane says they will not allow cars, rather bicycles and people on foot.
Lasikhona khona nje namhla iproject yethu le yekuqala kulamanenge lesesiwaqalile ukuthi ke nyalo sizakwakha sakhe nursery la leta kwakha tihlahla tesintu letilungela kuhlanyelwa emateteni sihlanyela ke kulamatete lesinawo so that lamatete abe ngila active ematete ke inyawa lenda nje labalitete litawugcina mila bosanda nezo nani kufuna bese ufaka iidea ukuthi yini bani labaka-benefita kuwo lana nje lasikhona khona indzawo niyibona nje sitakwenda tindzawo ukuthi ibe indzawo la kulitete khona awuti nemoto utanga tinyawo ungeta ngebhayisikili kodwa ke asifuni imoto ngoba phela imoto sesibaka letinye tinkinga ngetemvelo and bantu batawu-enjoya ke le park batanga tinyawo bahambe babuke tinyoni sitakwenda nje i-bird watching la sitaphinda siyicale kuse park kube i-reading park ufike nje uhlale phansi esihlahla kuthule kuseduku khala tinyoni kuphela na ufuna khona kufunza amanoveli akho uchube ukwende tabe kwecala ke la kangkhona kwenda lokho.
He says this is one of many projects where they will build a nursery and plant certain type of trees. Sandile Kumeze, the Ramza Convention National Focal Point person from the ENTC, says the country has a policy bill to regulate wetlands and conserve wetlands in Eswatini.
Live vele kufuna ukuthi libe nekukhuluma lokutiyile lokutawusekela lokuthi nasesichubeka ke sisebenta tindzaba tematete sikusukela etikwanako lokunye nje kwako ngilokwakuthi vele lo mthetho uyasho lokwakuthi ematete tindzawo vele letimcoka lesifanele ukuthi sitonge silivela kangwane nguleto nje ke tintfo lesisatipheka nyalo lesikubukile.
He says there's an action plan where they are supposed to educate all 4 regions on wetlands conservation. Last year, the Eswatini National Trust Commission visited different chiefdoms where they launched community-protected wetlands management plans. For Eswatini TV News, I'm Kian MCB, Matsapa.
We apologize for the mix-up there on those stories. That was Matapa Town Council that has started conserving wetlands in an aim of making them sightseeing, bird watching and nurseries. Now the town's environmental manager Mangoba Zwane, he says they will be conserving more wetlands as the world commemorates World Wetlands Day under the theme Wetlands Action for People and the Nature. Now moving right along, the Kingdom of Eswatini might experience a wet weekend ahead. According to senior forecaster Dumsane Stole, he says this might have a negative impact as the country might have or experience heavy rains next week due to Cyclone Batsirai.
The country might experience a cloud burn next week due to Cyclone Batsirai. According to senior forecaster Dumisani Stole, the heavy rains will find that the soil is moist.
A little bit more. And looking back at when looking at the way it's expected to cross Madagascar, it takes almost the same route as it was taken by Tropical Cyclone Domonio in 1984. However, that one it landed over Swaziland. This one is expected to recave towards the southern seas or the southern of the Indian Ocean. If it recaves, then we will only get the cloud bands, which will bring more rain over Swaziland, more especially over the eastern side. Otherwise, we had something like a tropical cyclone Irina. It did the same, that is in 2011 and 2012, around March.
Sitole says this is category 4 of the cyclone, which is similar to a cyclone that occurred in 1984. For Eswatini TV News, Ndomlangen with Samgel Suwekoza in Babane.
The Eswatini Electricity Company has embarked on a project to rehabilitate the Eswatini hydropower station. According to Marketing and Corporate Communications Manager Kaya Mavuso, he says this project is meant to upgrade the power station.
The Eswatini Electricity Company has started to rehabilitate the Eswatini hydropower station. According to the Marketing and Corporate Communications Manager Kaya Mavuso, it was costly to fix some machinery as some of the parts were no longer found in the market. He says that the power station will now be automated. Mavuso says the project is meant to sort of escape the huge amount of money that the country needs to fork out to buy electricity around the month of June, as during that time electricity become expensive.
Inkinga le bese sibhekene nayo ukuthi maintenance cost noma lokusilungisa nangabe khona lokulimele bese kusidulela ngalokuthi sitsala lama parts ayo akasasi available emarket. So sonke isikhathi bekuye ukuthi nangabe kune maintenance ukhanza ukuthi sesihlala sikhashanyanyana leside than normal, so lesisazama kufuna lawo maphathi lathingekile. Futhi ke bese sengodini ukuthi bekungathi kumbe kulimale lelinye liphathi bese sicisha isikhathi leside, lapho ke kusho ukuthi siluza emandi lebesingawasebenzisa ukuthi siphehle gesi, siluza nekuthi sinciphise indleko lebesingakhona ukunciphisa la si-importa khona lo gesi. Inkampani ke ibeke luhla ke lokuthi silungise le station ukuthi sis-automate sitoba sezingeni lelisetulu kutonciphisa lesikhathi lapho isingasebenzi khona ngenxa yokuthi sisalungisa nalama parts ke lataba khona latawufakwa kutabe ngilasimanje manje lokutaba lula ukuthi siwathole. Sizama ke ukuthi nalempilo yaso ichubeke ibe inengana kunaloko lebeyingekho.
Mavuso also warned Eswatini that Luphohlo Dam is currently filled to capacity as all excess water will spill over, resulting in an increase in water levels downstream, mainly in Mandabeni towards Mandenga to Matapa. For Eswatini TV News, Ndomlangen with Vuminkosi Nzenisa in Ezulwini.
Right now, let's see how our markets are performing today in our financial report.
Bank. It can be.
Welcome back. Now we take a look at news making headlines in the world of sports. Royal Leopards Public Relations Officer Frank Hurube says they will be using a different flight system this time around to ensure that they honor their second leg clash against Yaskabile from Algeria in the CAF Confederations playoff. Hurube says their expenses are expected to range around 600,000 Malangeni. The team leaves this Thursday and the game will be played on Sunday this weekend in Algeria.
There could be a light at the end of the tunnel for the local CAF envoys Royal Leopard, who are yet to play their second encounter against GS Kabir from Algeria in the CAF Confederations playoff. Having failed to land in Algeria last week due to different reasons related to flight system delay and weather conditions, the team seem to have found a new strategy that we see them spend around 600,000 emalangeni.
Indlela besitawuhamba ngayo sitawuhamba ngendlela yase eDoha besho ukuthi sitawugibela indiza iQatar Airways suke khona.
Team's public relations officer Frank Hurube says they will be using Qatar Airways, which will departure from Johannesburg to Doha, then from Doha to Algeria. Hurube confirmed that the cost will range around 600,000 emalangeni.
SaseTurkey sathola indiza yaseQatar. Lokusho ukuthi ke thina ke sesinqoqe kuthatha indlela yaseQatar.
The team leaves this Thursday and are expected to play their game on Sunday. Leopard has an advantage of 1 goal from the first leg and will require a win or a draw to progress to the group stages of the competition. For Eswatini TV Sports, Fabrice Msonera, Babane.
Beautiful Kingdom of Eswatini, that brings us to the conclusion of our news bulletin at 8 at Eswatini TV. But before we go, here's a quick reminder of our top stories tonight.
Their Majesties have announced that Buka ceremony will be hosted this year. Legislators and guests who will attend the state opening of the 4th session of the 11th Parliament by His Majesty King Eswatini III on Friday will be required to get COVID-19 clearance from the Ministry of Health. And government has approved the appointment of Brightwell Siboniso Nkambule as the Eswatini Revenue Service Acting Commissioner General.
Beautiful Kingdom of Eswatini, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for choosing to stay with us. That brings us to the conclusion of our news bulletin 8 here at Eswatini TV. Before we go, we shall cross over to the Weather Center for a detailed weather report from us and the rest of the crew here at Eswatini TV. For tonight, it's good night and God bless.
When does your learning journey begin? When you take up 21st century skills for a new world. When you choose a future-focused, tech-rich path to education. When you shift to an entrepreneurial mindset. The moment you choose to be an agile business leader. This is where your journey really begins. Regent Business School. Design your future.
We're going even lower than we have before. In every island, every store, prices smashing through the floor. Smashing through the floor. It's the lowest.
It's our lowest prices ever. Like baked beans and tomato sauce. Buy 2 for 22 emalangeni and all gold tomato sauce for $25.99. It's the Spar lower than low sale now on.
Intuthuko lekhonsile yintuthuko lesuka phansi emimangweni usosive lesinesidingeko sayo ingene emiphakathini uboba betikhulu ikhulunyiswe ibusiswe enkundleni nasesifundzeni ite iyofika kuhulumende lowabatimali tekusukumisa leyo misebenzi yentuthuko nenhlalakahle bukela luhlelo sive siyathuthuka ubona imisebenzi lesukunyiswe ngaphansi kweluphiko lwahulumende lekwakha takhiwo letisekelwe ngetimali tahulumende i-microproject kanye na-regional development fund lolu hlelo lutawungena njalo ngalesine nga-8:30 p.m. kusihlwa nangalesihlanu ekuseni nga-9:30 a.m. sive siyathuthuka